Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. And we want to do a roll call.
Pete
Yeah.
Palace,
Here.
Sylvia Pate,
Here.
Aldo Revita,
Here.
John Kane,
Here.
Wade Coleman,
Here.
Mark Francis,
Here.
Ashley Royal.
Here.
Okay, then we have a swearing in of a new member.
So actually, I need to swear in 3 members. I need to swear in Aldo as a regular member, if we could do that one first. And then Mark and Ashley as alternates. Even though you've already been sworn in, we do.
Yeah, it's getting old hat now. So. I think I got that I state your name part right.
Sorry, I just came from tie-dye, so.
Oh, no worries.
Okay, if you could place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Sure.
I state your name.
I state your name, Aldo Revita.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United
of
States
the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and
of
laws
North
of
Carolina,
North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a regular member
as a regular member
to the Planning and Zoning Board,
of the Planning and Zoning Board
Town of Holden Beach.
for the town of Holden Beach.
There we go.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I just need you to sign this for me. I just took my oath to be a notary and I was so used to reading this stuff. Do you know how you sign it? I read, instead of reading it, I started saying it. Okay, and then if I could have my 2 alternate members come on up, please. Come on up. And then you can take your place at the table also. They kind of, I think they just sit anywhere, right?
Up here?
Okay, you guys can place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Ashley Roy. I, Mark Francis.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly
Swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of North Carolina,
of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as an alternate member
as an alternate member
to the Planning and Zoning Board
to the Planning and Zoning Board
for the town of Holden Beach.
for the town of Holden Beach.
So help me God.
So help me God.
You guys should do. Okay.
Sign
So you
up.
sign that for me?
I steal that. Thank you.
If you could wait this, then.
Let's say 26.
The 25th.
25th. Thank
There you go.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Actually, I think Tim might have stolen yours if you want to come on. Do you have an extra one?
There's one down here.
Okay.
There's one here too.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. There we go.
Just keep a copy of them in your books.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. We got public comments on agenda items. And then we have approval of the minutes.
There was one correction that needs to be made to the minutes. I had asked Jenna if I could, if they weren't posted, so I couldn't listen back to it, and she said it didn't record for some reason. The last meeting didn't record. But on the bottom of page 1 where it said I made the motion to defer the issue to the Board of Commissioners, I actually motioned not to take any further action and defer to whoever has jurisdiction over the canals. And then the second part of that was, it said no other members voted, but it should have said there was no second to the motion, so therefore there was no further action taken.
Did you get all that in there? Yeah. Okay. All right, so does anybody else have any questions on that? Do we want to hear a motion to?
So you need to make a motion to make the changes. Would you
Let's-
accept them with those changes?
All right,
And then
okay.
change.
Anybody want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion for the changes.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No? Okay. So that's done. And then, anybody make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. I'll
Second.
Second? Okay. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And then, the discussion of the directive from the Board of Commissioners on pier head alignment. Did you?
Hold on a second, y'all need to choose a chair and a vice chair.
All right, we decided, we were kind of saying we wanted to do that next meeting because we didn't know that. Is that,
Okay.
so we're going to do that on the next meeting. Okay. Did you want to talk about the directive on the pier head alignment? They kind of dropped that, right?
Is it on the pier? Yeah, the Board of Commissioners relayed that they don't want to take any further action. They don't want a committee formed, and they want to take no other action. They want to allow CAMA, that they think CAMA should enforce their own rules, and that they think that it should stay that way.
Okay.
That's what the board sent back. As far as I'm concerned, the matter's done.
Okay.
Good.
There was, I thought it was interesting, the guy that was complaining about that issue. Tim, you can relate, that actually his dock was out further than it was supposed to be. The new dock that,
Yeah, the dock was out further, but we refused to do the inspection there until we got written notice from CAMA that it went out too far. And I spoke with Tara, who came down with her supervisor, and they concluded that it was out too far and they've got to move it back.
so the
Okay.
one that was complaining was actually right, that it was too far out.
So Tim, that really then was CAMA's
Always
decision,
was, that's
or
why.
always was.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We identified it long before the person that complained as being out too far to CAMA. And they interacted with, I guess, Will Carter and with the homeowner and conveyed to them that it was okay. But those were field representatives. The supervisors came down. They actually, after the last meeting, the people who installed it came to us and said they wanted us to do a final inspection because we wouldn't do one, because we had received nothing from CAMA. And we told them we weren't going to do anything until I got something in writing from them saying it wasn't out too far, because we had notified them it was out too far, way back in March. Anyway, they came down and said it was out too far and had to be moved back. So we've never done an inspection there, and not yet, and we won't until it's moved back. So what happened was, well, we were doing our job like we're supposed to. We don't advertise it on Facebook and everything, and somebody complained, you know what I mean? But the record shows that we sent an email to CAMA saying it was out too far, way back in March. So he just, we can't force CAMA, but we would have done that. We've done it numerous times. We won't do the inspection, we won't sign off on it until the party that has authority tells us it's okay. So we just didn't do it. We forced the hand at the end. It was us that forced Tara to go down here, not anybody else. Because we wouldn't do the inspection.
All right. Discussion on the possible exception to town ordinance 157.083 accessory structures.
Yeah, the accessory structures, this is a complicated matter, but the bottom line is the Board of Commissioners wants to exclude piers, docks, and boat lifts from the principal structure rule that says you can't have an accessory structure without the principal structure. So I brought forth to y'all a ordinance that basically says that piers, docks, and boat lifts are allowed without the principal structure, and piers, docks, and boat lifts use shall not involve the conduct of any business, trade, or industry except for items and professional occupancy. So the ordinance originally read that you could not have an accessory structure without the principal structure. And the board indicated in a consensus, all of them did, that they wanted to exclude piers, docks, and boat lifts. Now, this is a land use matter, which means it's got to come to us, and before we can change it, we got to have a public hearing, and y'all got to look at the consistency statement, or approve a consistency statement, and approve the the ordinance after a public hearing, and then it will go forward to the board to do the same thing. So I brought to you what the Board of Commissioners had indicated to me they wanted you to review. I put it in ordinance form, so if there's some changes you want to make to it, or some recommendations, or anything, I guess it's at this point that you can go forward.
Has there been several of those without a home constructed as just a matter of fact anyway?
Here's how this went down. The history of this is that for whatever reason, prior to me coming to work at Holden Beach, they allowed piers and docks and boat lifts to be built without the principal structure, although this was actually in the ordinance book.
Right.
And the only conclusion that I could come from when I did a search from it was that the town's definition did not define piers, docks, and boat lifts as an accessory structure. And nowhere else was it defined as an accessory structure. Fast forward from 2011, so people were actually doing it. We made several of them myself. And so that was the interpretation for all those years. And it was a good interpretation because that's the way it read. Then in 2018, we got a 6-year cycle on the building code, and the building code exempted all piers, docks, and boat lifts from the building code. And I say this, and I'm not exaggerating, there was about 9 or 10 paragraphs, about 3 pages, where they went to great extensive links to exempt piers, and not boat lifts, but piers and docks. And it was dependent on their size and what the length of the structural elements were and how big the floating docks were, but it would pretty much exempted everything in a canal because of riparian areas and that kind of stuff. Well, every building official from Sunset Beach all the way to Nag's Head lost their mind because this was written for Lake Norman, you know what I mean? Not for where we had oyster shells, tidal waters, floods, worms eating wood, and all kind of other stuff. So it basically was the way it was. What we did was we didn't advertise that there'd been a code change because anybody contracts, it's their requirements to know what the rules and the laws are. So if someone came and applied for a permit, we issued it, and then we would do the inspection if they asked us. If they didn't apply for a permit, guess what we did? We couldn't do anything. And we didn't. And that's why all of a sudden, everything went from looking uniform out there to what you have now. They're exempted. I mean, how do I even issue a notice of violation if they're falling down? Well, some point in time after that, the building code council met, and without notification to any building officials, they took all of that out. And the only thing they exempted was piers in ponds on private property. And in order to throw it back into the building code, and they deleted all those pages, they basically added piers and docks to the accessory structure definition in the North Carolina Building Code. So now you understand that they're now accessory structures. Therefore, throwing them into our code. Because what the law says is if there's no definition in here, then you have to go by what the legal definition is. And the Building Code Council and the state legislature made piers and docks accessory structures.
About when
So
did they
we
do
stopped
that?
people from doing it.
Right.
We said you can't do it no more. Be just like if we made an ordinance change, you can't do it no more. And then, the word got out, and so now they want to, the only way we can do it is by exception now out of our ordinance. In other words, we say you can do that now. And so I've written something that I think will work. Y'all can look at it, you can talk about it. But the Board of Commissioners was unanimous that they wanted this exempt.
Right.
So does that grandfather in the ones that have done it already?
Well, I think once you exempt them, they're all going, it doesn't make them non-conforming, it would make them all conforming.
Well, true, that's true.
Yes.
What about swimming pools? Are they considered an
Can't
accessory?
exempt the swimming pool.
I'm just asking, is that considered an
That's an
accessory?
structure, oh, yeah.
I mean, because we do have at least one I know of.
Huh?
I said, because we do have one, at least one I know of.
Well, what?
It has a swimming pool. No structure.
With no structure.
It's called
Oh, you're
Toronto.
talking about on Scotch
Yeah.
Bar? Well, that's not done yet.
Well,
But that one was, now let's, if you wanna talk about that, we can, but that was a house that we condemned. It was falling down. We'd had hundreds and hundreds of complaints about the stagnant water in the pool, the pier and dock and stuff and all this. So we issued another notification to tear it down. We went by, we talked to them and discussed the 50% rule. They were supposed to just take out part of it, no more than 50%, make a repair out of it and sit it back in there. And then it wouldn't have mattered, it would have been by itself, but it still wouldn't have mattered because you're not required to tear out something that you
okay,
don't have to bring it into full compliance.
gotcha.
Well, it was also in the CAMA setbacks, and we made them clean up everything that we could in the CAMA setbacks. We told them went beyond 50%, they would have to tear the pool up, because CAMA don't allow it to be in the 30-foot buffer. Not now, but when
Right.
it was installed, it was allowed, wasn't it, Wade?
It was.
The Wade installed it.
installed.
Way to go, Wade.
So what happened was they went beyond the 50%. And we said, that's it, that's enough, you can't do it, right? CAMA come back and said it was installed before the camera rules, and yes, they could keep it. So they're the only people that I know of that's got a pool by itself on a lot inside the 30-foot buffer. Probably the only ones that's ever gonna be allowed to have one. But they're legit.
Okay,
Now, at the same time, they can't occupy or use that pool without the principal structure because they were supposed to give us a what? A building permit plan. They brought it in, we actually did the review. It had a problem, they took it back and then never brought it back again. So they got their foot in the door with a review process and never brought it back. So
okay,
they're in a stuck, they're in a mess,
sounds
because
like it.
if, unless they bring that one back, it's non-conforming, then they're gonna have to go to the Board of Adjustment, get approval, put a house there with a swimming pool, ain't supposed to be there, because they're non-conforming. So they need to bring, I've talked to several people that talked about buying it, they need to go find that original application. If they wanna bring it back to us and amend it, fine. But, you know what I mean, because the pool was part of it.
Okay,
So, yeah, it's been out there for sale a couple of times, and then a phone call, and they all run away.
yeah, I know it's on the
So
market
that's
now.
it, that's the story on the book.
Okay, good, I wanted to know this one on that.
I have a couple questions. So to understand that these accessory structures have to conform to building code?
Yes,
Okay.
all of them,
Okay. There's a little typo here, except on the bottom line. But it says, it mentions professional occupations.
yeah. Yep.
What does that mean?
Well, that means that, like you're talking about for like a home.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, so
it's-
you can have a 25, if you've got a principal structure, then 25% or a portion of it can be used for a home occupation or a business of some type. You run your business out of it.
Oh, okay, so the professional occupations is applying to the
Use.
home.
See, it says structural, accessory use or structure, so it can be a use as well, or the structure. In other words, like if you wanna sell pool chemicals out of your, you know what I mean? As long as you're not occupying more, and I think it's a percentage, I wanna say 25% of the structure to do so, you can do that. It's allowed.
Can you sell hot dogs too?
Hot dogs would not be allowed use in the residential zoning, but.
Okay.
That's right. And then if you look at the last part, it basically, it says you can't do that. You can't do those kinds of things if you only have a pier or a dock. The reason we put that in there was my concern at the board meeting. Here's what happens with so you guys will know, this is what we deal with. You get a pier with a dock and a boat lift. The first thing you end up with is people trying to use it to stage, or they ask the guy, can I use it to put my barge there while I repair bulkheads all over town? Well, now the use and the occupation, right, is not allowed. So, Another
Okay.
big thing is there's one out there, there's two out there, where they had a pier and a dock. We issued permits, probably, I won't say the one that sticks out in my mind, that we issued it back in 2014 or 15. If you go look at it right now, if next time I get it, I'll send you all the address, or you can ride around town. It's down there in one of the fish streets. It's Marlin, I believe, yeah, it's Marlin. Well, they've set up an RV campsite. It's got rock, it's all laid out, because you can have the electrical to go to the boat and the dock, now you got electrical. So, and, you know, I've sent them letters once or twice, and we've told them they have to leave. And, you know, I'm not on 24-hour service to make sure. So that was never real clear, but if we do pass this the way it is, I think that gives us enough teeth to stop people from camping on them. It what's keep somebody from coming up there with their boat, parking there, putting up a tent, camping on their vacant lot, or somebody doing it that don't know they're doing it. You know what I mean? So, we need to just make sure that we're not allowing bad behavior by allowing them to have that. Nor is it, I can give you some of the complaints. We've had commercial fishermen, their customers park on them. They're loading and unloading their bait and their ice and their drinks and, I mean, taking their money. See, that's not allowed. You know, you gotta have a brick and mortar store for open meeting, or our ordinances, so, but they do it because we're encouraging it with that dock. The biggest one is I bet there's one person in town, I've moved him from 4 or 5 vacant lots that have piers and docks. He, unloads his little traco and his other stuff, and parks it there at night, and he's got all his lumber stored there for the next 3 jobs, and you can't do that. So, those are the kind of things, and of course, and we have the means, but in the ordinance by which to do that, but this gives us a more direct line to say no. That last part. But a regular homeowner wants to put a pier and a dock and a boat up there, wouldn't be hampered at all with that. They would hamper them if they tried to sell hot dogs.
I think you need to add a word in there though, because it's kind of like run on there, because it says piers, docks, and bait lifts are allowed without their principal structure. And then it goes on to say piers, docks, and bait lifts shall not involve. It seems like you should say piers, docks, and bait lifts are allowed without their principal structure. However, piers, docks, and bait lifts, you shall not involve the conduct of. Seems like it needed a word, it's all running together there.
Well, then we can, that's what y'all want to do, we can add.
You see what I'm
You can
saying?
rewrite it any way you want to.
Yeah, just make it 2 sentences.
Or else just make it 2 sentences.
Y'all fix it any way you want to.
Not just make it 2 sentences, then just put a period there instead of a comma after structure, and then start over with piers, docks, and bait lifts.
I can tell you I didn't say.
Yeah. Just make it 2 sentences, and then it's clear.
Change it.
What do you think?
Yeah, just put a period there, that'd be good.
Period. Make 2 sentences out of it.
Tim, is there any need for describing permitted parking on these lots? Or, I don't know, I'm just thinking, well, right now, we've got, with the paid parking, people could be parking in these vacant lots. Would that be something that needs, I'm not looking to think of describing every possible scenario, but,
It's pretty common, like, to let your neighbor park his boat trailer on my vacant lot, and
I don't think
the neighbor says, I'll mow the grass for
Parking
you.
of a-
yeah, and I'm aware of people doing that, and that's,
But I don't think
to me,
this,
that's
I don't
up to
think
them.
this,
It doesn't really cross the business
I don't think
line.
this stops you from letting somebody you want park on your property. This is saying that you can't let somebody, with a load of lumber stage from your lot, is basically what it says. If we were to go out there and you had a boat that didn't violate the nuisance vehicle ordinance, a boat trailer, a boat,
Mhm.
or a car, we wouldn't do anything. And it wouldn't be a violation of the parking rules either, because we don't have anything against private, parking on private property. That would be between the property owner and whoever does it. But the only time we would do that would be if it became a nuisance vehicle. A trailer that has dead tags and wheels falling off of it and it looks bad.
Oh.
Yeah, that would be the only time we would have any Because that's already in the ordinance. There's actually a nuisance vehicle ordinance that talks about that. And truly, if somebody wanted to let a bunch of people park on the, park to go to the beach, I think that's up to them. What we don't want is selling hot dogs.
Well, somebody had a hot dog cart or something? Pull it right out
You
there.
can have a hot
It's got a
dog
life
cart,
of
but
its own.
you gotta go through that process that we have.
You can just give them away.
Yeah.
Donations.
That's a good idea.
Now, I am gonna tell you this, so none of you will call me, or anybody y'all talk to calls me. If there's a kid out there on the corner who's selling lemonade for, to pay for his little brother's surgery, y'all can go stop him. I'm not. I'm not stopping. I don't stop any kid with a lemonade stand. I'm not interested in being on WWAY.
Yeah, that's right.
I stopped and bought some yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do. Open vending is absolutely not illegal, unless you're a cute kid with lemonade. I'm buying it.
Me too. All right, so we've noted the changing of the sentencing. Jenna, did you get that? All right, do we need to vote on this or do something on this?
You need to vote and set a public hearing with the changes, and then we'll bring it back to you, and then you'll have to look at it again, and you'll have to review the consistency statement. I'll bring it back to you.
Okay. So, somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, any comments? Well, it sure did clear out, didn't he?
Yeah.
All right, then adjournment. Anybody got anything else we want to talk about here on the board? All right,
Nope.
make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?